This is The Deal Room, part of The Endgame, Israel's tech M&A podcast. The Deal Room is your bite-sized English roundup of the last month in Israeli tech deals, and in this case, we're looking at what we missed over the summer while Zeevi has been vacationing on his yacht in Sardinia. I'm your host, Sophia Tupolev, working with early-stage startups for the last decade here in Israel. And Zeevi Michel is here with me, my co-founder, the co-founder of The Endgame. He's a serial commentator, right? No, serial exited entrepreneur, venture capitalist. Yeah, your main qualification is that you're a commentator. He just likes to talk. And we're looking at the summer in Israeli tech M&A. No summer vacation, at least for the people announcing the deals. Hi, Zeevi. How was your summer?
Hello. I wasn't yachting in Sardinia
We
like
cut that
you
part.
alluded before. So my summer was great. I think the tech scene and the summer was very hectic and very busy, and there was no vacation.
No vacation for you. We went into the summer. We record the show every month. We want to talk about the deals, but we stopped at the end of June. There were 50 deals announced through the end of June, and we said, what's going to happen this summer? Let's see. Let's just come back in September, see what happened. Well, guess what? True to form, 25 deals, no slowdown in the momentum whatsoever. Of course, we talk about deals that are announced. We don't necessarily cover them when they're closing.
What we can see, first of all, from a pure sheer size and amount of deals, the last 3 months in Israel or for the Israeli tech were very, very busy. If I look at my counterparts in Europe who are actually vacationing in the Alps or whatever, here it seems like everybody in the tech scene has been working, the founders, the buyers, the VCs, everybody was extremely busy. And that's a very good sign. And again, obviously, we all know it. There is no dead seasons in the tech world globally. Everything, every time something is happening. And it's good to see that even though the situation in Israel from a geopolitical standpoint is still a bit shaky, we're still racking up big deals, both by international coming to Israel. But then again, the fact that we are no longer just a startup nation, but rather a scale-up nation, and we're actually creating real businesses and real companies.
That's true. There's a lot of Israeli, larger now multinational. And now a message from our sponsors. Well, Zeevi and I are actually the sponsors bootstrapping this thing, so this is a message from us. If you love the show, subscribe on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple. Did you know that we also publish executive summaries for founders? Head on over to The Endgame, Israel's tech M&A podcast on LinkedIn for more. And now, back to the show. And what's interesting is I think we were talking about, we don't want to make bold statements here, but probably the best year on record in Israeli tech M&A, even if you take out two major mega outlier deals like Wiz and CyberArk, 32 and 25 billion a pop, take those out for a second. Just this summer, I tallied up almost 8 billion in deals that were inked. And of course, part of that's private equity. We'll get into that. But it does definitely sound like it's been a busy summer. And we were talking about the whole influence of AI on all of this deal making. Zeevi, maybe you can say a couple words about that.
At least in the software world, if you look at the types of deals that happened in the last 3 months, you could see a big underlying commonality. And the commonality is AI or Gen AI. And most of the acquisitions that we saw in the Israeli market in the last 3 months somehow is related to AI. We'll explain a little bit the differences between the types of deals, but not surprisingly, because this is in a way the flavor of the month globally as well. We see a lot of deals happening globally as well. And again, it's not a big surprise. A lot of the deals that happened in Israel are also around that. So just to give an example, we see 3, 4, 5 deals that happened in the last 3 months in the cyber world. But in essence, all those deals, 100 million, 200 million, etc., these are companies that basically are the new age and have created the new tech and the new product to basically protect organizations from the threats that might occur due to use of AI. So you see the first one were Palo Alto buying Protect AI. Now again, Protect AI is not an Israeli-based company. They were considered the biggest one in their field, hence also the amount, $700 million. And that's pretty standard with the course that Palo Alto is doing. They mainly buy the number one, the category leader. They're willing to pay relatively big bucks for that. So that was the first firing gun here in that space. And then you see Sentinel buying Prompt Security, 250 million, very similar style. You see obviously Checkpoint buying, I think the name
Lakera.
is, or the Swiss ones.
Yeah.
That's also Lakera, sorry. We see Checkpoint being the mecca of the cyber in Israel, actually opting to buy a company in the AI space outside of Israel, and actually also announcing in Switzerland and announcing that their AI Center of Excellence is going to be in Switzerland. That's interesting to see and see how that is being evolving. But in a way, that's one bucket of AI-related companies that got acquired, especially in the cyberspace. Then, like previous months, we see small companies, again, for their AI capabilities, we sure buying hourly and such very small deals that most likely happen due to the team or the specific product that has some kind of an edge in the AI world. And then we see something which I find to be extremely interesting, NICE buying Congnigy for close to $1 billion. Again, I'm sitting on the board with a German VC who's actually in the board of Congnigy. The amounts and the growth this company had in the last 2 years were tremendous, and that's extremely interesting because in a way also from a global standpoint, so NICE being
they're dual listed, of course. They're also on NASDAQ. They are an Israeli company. We, on one hand, we're celebrating that they're all kind of becoming these amazing multinationals, and we talk a lot about how our ecosystem is maturing, and look at how mature we are. And guess what? These mature multinationals have deep pockets, and they can choose anywhere in the world to go and snap up startups, especially in the AI space. The fact that they are not choosing Israeli companies is actually a little bit of a warning sign for us, saying, have we actually missed the boat on some of these possibly?
Yeah, you're touching a very interesting point, both in the Checkpoint case, but also in the NICE case of Congnigy. That's the first thought that came into mind, at least for me, is does the fact that in the applicative AI, again, the NICE Congnigy example, NICE chose to buy a German-based company that is very advanced in the market, very known in its own market, and same goes with Checkpoint buying the Swiss company. I do not want to go out with the bold statement saying we missed the boat as the Israeli tech scene, but
No, but Zeevi, even I don't need a PhD in economics to understand that, we've talked about a lot how Europe has invested in education in AI for years and years and years. Meanwhile, Israel can barely get our shit together in that space.
I agree we're slightly behind, but the race is still open, especially in the applicative AI layer. So I'm less concerned. And what I'm actually hoping is to start seeing more companies in Israel being acquired, not just for the tech or the NICE team, etc., even though it's 100 million, 200 million, 300 million, but rather for them becoming category leaders with the new age of their own respected category. And Congnigy is a good example, is NICE being the traditional player, buying one of the newcomers, paying above 25x on the revenues, which is very high. So that's extremely interesting to me to see. And then maybe the last point, which we're still very happy to see, and we saw it in previous months, was the PEs, still active here in Israel. A good example, Thoma Bravo buying Verint for above $2 billion. Now, again, if you remember in one of the episodes, we talked about this asset class or financial buyers where it's less common in Israel. And I think one of the guests said that one of the reasons it's less common in Israel is because those mega PEs, they have some kind of a threshold where, underneath that is not interesting enough or doesn't fit their financial model. And now we see, Verint, Sapiens, companies, Israeli companies that were one of the OGs, many years in the market, reaching valuations of billions, being publicly in some cases, now are being scooped up by the PEs because the math makes sense. A good thing that we saw in the last 3 months is, again, we saw the financial players. And I think one of our guests, when we pushed him and saying, there is no deals, the big PEs are not here. And their answer was, they are here. It's just a matter of they're looking for a very specific type of maturity in their companies. And we saw one, right? And now they found some, which again correlates very well with the public markets, and also the fact public markets are opening up again. That's something we need to talk about. We haven't seen any IPOs of Israeli companies or Israeli related companies in the last quarter, but we will see them happening in Q4 as we see the entire market globally opening up to the IPO market as well.
That's a lot of stuff to cover. Okay, Zeevi, we've got a wrap. That's our show for today. 25 deals over the summer, nearly 8 billion in deal volume if you don't count those pesky outliers. Send this to a founder friend that is trying to maybe get acquired one day. Follow our show on LinkedIn and everywhere you get your podcasts. And we'll see you next time on The Endgame, Israel's Tech M&A podcast.